I don't know. I don't know. Suddenly, things are looking a little up for Sunday. This is RamView.
It's hot out there. Let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, okay.
Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the September 20th, 2024 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident, need help, got questions, call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word. KistlerLawFirm.com, Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair, having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And of course, by Benched, the app. Don't get caught with zeros on your fantasy team. Download Benched, the app today. All right, good to be here. It is Friday, a little later than I wanted to be here, but it was a tough couple days here for us, but we're here, and things suddenly seem a little different about the Rams, don't they? Right? And I'm going to tell you right now, I struggle. I do struggle with a couple of things. I struggle like Billy Jack in the ice cream shop. Everyone telling me to control my temper. But when I hear the KBM and some of the Rams media talk about moving on from Stafford and starting a rebuild and rebuilding the offensive line, I have to say, after just an 0-2 start, I have to say, I just go berserk, right? First off, we're 0-2 in a 17-game season. Not a 16-game season, a 17-game season. A 15 games, that means we got 15 games to get healthy, 15 games for the defense to coalesce and our rookies to start playing like veterans, 15 more games for our opponents to have their seasons come undone by injuries. You know, other teams play and other teams go through injuries. This previous Monday, this game against Frisco coming up on Sunday was a guaranteed blowout. By Monday morning, everyone was writing off this game. But lo and behold, the 49ers, playing the same number of games the Rams are having some engine trouble, right? They don't have McCaffrey. They don't have Debo. Kittle is doubtful. You know, things have happened, and now the Rams have a shot. If they win, they'll have a shot against Chicago next week. And then they'll have a shot to be 3-2 after playing Green Bay in week 5 going into the bye. So what are we talking about here? Rebuild the team because it started 0-2? Rebuild the offensive line? Hey, newsflash, under McSnead, the Rams don't do rebuilds. Last year should have been one, and it wasn't. 2022 was an injury fest. Do you think Sean McVay, with 2 Super Bowls and 1 title under his belt, after 2 or 3 weeks is going to say, hey, let's just blow it up, and then want to stick around as the team wanders through the wilderness looking for another Super Bowl level quarterback? We're going to move off Stafford. Hey, I can argue that if the Rams get healthy, their Super Bowl chances are much better than the Dolphins if they acquired Stafford. Now, there have been setbacks, but there hasn't been that one season-ending injury that it's over. Darian Kendrick's gone. THT is gone. But as of now, now it might not be after just 4 weeks, but as of now, Darius Williams is supposed to come back. Steve Avila is supposed to come back. Joe Noteboom is supposed to come back. Puka Nacua is supposed to come back. John Johnson is supposed to come back, right? 3 starters on the offensive line are playing this Sunday, right? Veterans at wide receiver. Running backs are deep. Our quarterback is elite, and the defense did get torched by big plays last week, but it is capable of playing this week. Rebuild the offensive line? Alaric Jackson is 26. Kevin Dotson is 28. Jonah Jackson is 27. Steve Avila turns 25 in October, and at 32, Havenstein is the outlier. Now, injuries change all equations, but what are the Rams rebuilding here? Dotson, Jackson, and Avila are all under contract through 2026. These next few weeks are going to tell us about Alaric Jackson, not whether he can play at this level. That question was answered a year ago, that Alaric Jackson could play at this level. But it's going to be to find out, is his play equal to what the Rams are willing to pay him, right? We know he can play. And Havenstein at 32, to this point, he's been a Gibraltar. And you know what? He's not on the injury list this week. There's no mention of that foot or that ankle or anything going on with Havenstein right now. Thankfully, in the KBM, in the media, no one is advocating other than Chase Daniel for Bryce Young, right? No one is. But I'll throw this out. If another team was desperate enough to give the moon and sun for Stafford, like, say, Miami right now, right? Which you got to wonder, too, is Stafford's not going to want to go to a team that's losing, right? You could have that here, right? So let's just say a team like Miami was willing to offer the sun, moon, stars. I'd listen, but the baseline would be just to start the conversation. It would have to be the Tyreek Hill trade to Miami. KC got 5 picks in that deal. A first, a second, 2 fourths, and a sixth. You know, if it was Stafford going, an elite quarterback, top 5 quarterback in the NFL, I think I'd want 2 firsts, a second, and 2 thirds. And David Blanken Putney, because I feel like it, right? I just think Stafford is that good. And I don't see the Rams deciding, oh, yeah, we can just move off of Stafford and we can start the rebuild. What rebuild are we talking about here? I'm just stunned that people who do this full time, people who do this for a living, and again, I shouldn't be stunned because I've worked with those people and they don't put any effort into it. They just go along with the narrative, or they come along with the most obtuse, insane conclusions. And it's like, and I know what it is. It's all about getting a rise. It's all about getting clicks. And it's not about really saying something substantial. And the Rams might have a struggle this year. They might not make the playoffs this year. They might lose. But you know what? This team is coming back. It's a 17-game season. 15 games are left. The tough teams, they're playing at home, right? And you got your starting tackles right now, right? You got your starting right guard. You got a deep running back room. You may not have an exceptional receiving core, but you got a professional receiving core. You got a defense with a Rookie of the Year candidate matching up with a guy who played over his head last year at Byron Young, and another guy that should have been Defensive Rookie of the Year in Kobe Turner. This team is playing well. Kobe Durant with his injured toe is playing well. You know, Trey White, if he doesn't give up the big play, is going to play better, right? And we're going to see this team get better. It's just don't jump ship and don't talk about a rebuild. The day the Rams go into rebuild is going to be when Sean McVay says, I'm done, right? I don't see Sean McVay sticking around for a rebuild. Okay, Ram stuff. Let's get right to this on the top here. I said I would get there. I'm getting there. I'm not going to mess around. All right. Steve Ramirez, Bill, USA Expat, thanks for coming on board. I'll get to you guys in a second. This isn't fanboy. This isn't aw shucks, and this isn't being hopeful. But I'm sure all of you have played sports, and you've all come to a point where someone doubted you, right? I know what it's like to be laughed at and discounted. I know what it's like to have somebody to say, hey, he's no good. Heck, it happened to me in sports writing. It happened to me as a minister. It happens to us. We all know what it's like. And I have a level of spite in me that I'm going to get even no matter what. I'm going to get there no matter what. The Rams have to be feeling that right now. Everybody's already written them off after 2 games. Just enough is off for a very good Frisco team right now that the Rams can make this happen. But they have to be angry. They have to be angry. The Rams are going to win on Sunday, I say, because they're angry and they've been written off 27-21. There you go. I said it. Rams win 27-21 on Sunday. As of today, Alaric Jackson is the left tackle. Logan Bruss is the left guard. Bo Limmer is the center with a vote of confidence from Matthew Stafford. Right guard is Kevin Dotson. Right tackle is Rob Havenstein. Cooper Kupp, which we knew, he is out, as is Davis Allen, which we suspected with his back. Josh Carty's nursing a groin injury, but should be ready to go. Kobe Durant, toe. He played well last week. He's played well this year. He's going to be out there. And Bobby Brown with his ankle, he's questionable, but likely will be out there. Both Kevin Dotson, Rob Havenstein, and Quentin Lake were not listed for any reason on the injury report. Pretty cool, huh? Pretty cool. Kevin Dotson is practicing full speed. Right now for the 49ers, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle are all out. Kittle is doubtful. Chavarius Ward, their cornerback, has a hamstring issue. Nick Bosa has a rib issue. and they've been limited in their practicing this week. Now, their studs on offense this week will be, of course, Trent Williams, Brock Purdy, and Brandon Ayuk, right? I'm not discounting Jordan Mason. That guy runs like Pacheco, right? He runs hard. And maybe getting back to Ayuk, maybe this Sunday is his breakout game. But I'm going to share the numbers on why this whole offseason I wanted Frisco to break the bank for Brandon Ayuk, because I don't believe he's all that great. I believe he's good, but I don't believe he's great. And these are the numbers that I was looking at and kind of holding on to until this week. In 8 games against the Rams, which includes the NFC title game, since Ayuk is coming to the league, Ayuk has 31 catches against the Rams, 400 yards, and he's averaging about 13 yards a catch. He scored just 2 touchdowns. His last time he scored a touchdown against the Rams was on a halfback option for McCaffrey in 2022. Okay? He's averaged just under 4 grabs and 50 yards per game. I think the Rams can contain him. He's not the guy that hurts the Rams. McCaffrey and especially Deebo Samuel are the guys that hurt the Rams. Don't be afraid of Brandon Ayuk. But Brandon Ayuk is going to be the number 1 for Brock Purdy on Sunday. I think that bodes well for the Rams. This is why I believe opportunity is knocking. They've got to find a way to limit Jordan Mason, who I said has got a bit of the Isaiah Pacheco in him, is that he runs angry. Juwan Jennings is a good receiver, but neither Jennings or Ayuk present the kind of trouble in terms of versatility that Deebo Samuel does. And George Kittle, if he plays, is banged up. He's considered doubtful right now. The Rams get Alaric Jackson back, and Frisco's been struggling getting to the quarterback a little bit, putting pressure on consistently. If the Rams can establish the run or any sort of a run game, and the 49ers are vulnerable against the run, this means this game is in play. But the Rams have to be angry. They have to play angry. If they don't, then they lose. There you go. Let's get to around the NFL and other places. I talked about this game. I'm excited about this game. Michigan, USC in the big house. Trojans haven't lost to Michigan since 1989. But they've never won in the big house. Of course, that was only one game back in 58. So I'm taking USC in this one, 24-14. Just being in that environment, I think, gives Michigan a shot. But if all things are equal, USC wins this game 24-14. Thursday Night Football, I saw that game last night. Aaron Rodgers was great. Aaron Rodgers looked fantastic. Some of the throws he made was like vintage Aaron Rodgers. And that Patriot team I saw in August that I had no hope for, that I thought, man, I'm wrong. Well, no, I was right in August, and I doubted myself. And that Patriot team looked terrible last night, just terrible. And, Aaron Rodgers, he's not my favorite player, but I really hope he stays healthy and that the Patriots do well, okay? Because not the Patriots, the Jets do well. I'm sorry. I want to see the Jets do well because I really think it brings a lot to the equation there in the AFC. You got to figure Cincy's going to get on track. You got to figure Baltimore is going to get on track. You got to figure you got Buffalo, and now I don't know if Miami's going to be there, but you got Buffalo, maybe the Jets, and then you're getting to Jacksonville, maybe, definitely Houston, and then of course you've got KC, and the team we're all interested in going to Pittsburgh this week is the Bolts, and so it makes the AFC more interesting. The last thing I want to add for Thursday Night Football is, when Aaron Rodgers kind of shunned the hug from Robert Saleh, and I understand maybe he wanted to keep focus, but here's one thing is that when all is said and done 100 years from now or 10 years from now, we're not going to remember Robert Saleh. He's going to end up probably being a defensive coordinator someplace else in another year or two. We know what it's going to be like for him as an HC with the Jets, staying the Jets head coach. Aaron Rodgers is going to go to the Hall of Fame, right? Aaron Rodgers is going to go to the Hall of Fame. But so he was in a position of power in that scene, in that brief scene there. And he's supposed to be so cerebral, so read the moment, right? But when your coach reaches for you to hug you and you're in a position of power, you have an obligation to be the best, to the best of your ability. You have an obligation to guard each man's dignity and protect each man's pride. And I thought the way Aaron Rodgers pushed Saleh away, his head coach, was a bit douchey. I just thought it was bad look for Aaron Rodgers. It made you think this isn't a good guy. We all had someone come up to us and hug us and, want to bring us up on stage or want to do something maybe we're not comfortable with. But if it's well intended, we don't want to hurt somebody or embarrass somebody. And I thought it was extremely selfish of Aaron Rodgers. He just didn't read the room in terms of guarding each man's dignity, protecting each man's pride. He should be better. All right, looking at coaches on the hot seat. Saleh, I'm putting a little pause there to him. The one that I really think is in trouble, Philly. If Nick Sirianni, if he dropped to 1-2 and they lose to NOLA this week, they lose in New Orleans, Nick Sirianni goes to the top of the list there, right? Nick Sirianni goes to the top of the list. Matt Eberflus in Chicago, if they lose against Indy and they go to an 0-3 start and then say, go home and tank against the Rams and fall to 0-4, Matt Eberflus is in serious trouble. If Mike McCarthy loses and starts the season 1-2 with 2 losses at home because they lose to the Ravens, where do you think Mike McCarthy is in terms of Jerry Jones? He doesn't have a contract. He's done after this year. I think they're in real trouble. And I think the Ravens are a better team. I think they do have a better quarterback in the complete sense. I can't imagine the Ravens accepting another loss. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But those guys, Mike McCarthy, Matt Eberflus, Nick Sirianni, they are in serious trouble as it is. Taxkins have signed former Rams linebacker Justin Hollins to the practice squad. So good for Justin Hollins. He's still in the league. All right. I'm Joe Terosian. I was a sports writer for 21 years. And now thanks to our sponsors, Kistler Law and Bench the app, I get to do RamView. And Bench the app, what is that? Well, Bench the app is, as I shared last Sunday, I got a text from a friend saying Evan Ingram was a scratch 5 minutes before kickoff, and he had already set his fantasy lineup. But with Bench the app, it allows you set up the app. It allows you to move that player automatically, your backup tight end, your backup quarterback in the event of an injury before the game. So if you're tired of losing fantasy games because you forgot to check your lineup, with Bench the app, that's a thing of the past. Bench is the only app that ensures you never leave a starting player in your lineup. Don't miss a non-starting player in your lineup. Don't miss out on crucial points, and don't be the one who forgot to bench a player on game day. Win your league, keep your pride, deliver some spite, and let Bench the app handle the rest. Download Bench the app today and dominate your fantasy football season. So thank you to our sponsors at Bench, and especially Kistler Law, Temple City Auto. It allows us to do what I do here. Also, you guys have been purchasing my book, Game Day at the Ram Cave. Thank you so much. Don't have a Patreon. We don't have a paywall, but it allows me to do this and allows me to stay employed at my day job. I pastor a small church in Burbank called Burbank Faith Nazarene, and our channel is right here on YouTube, Burbank Faith Virtual, burbankfaithvirtual.com, Burbank Faith Virtual all across social media. So if you ever have any questions about that or my books, let me know, and I'd love to talk to you about it. Let's see how the questions are. Got a few questions here. Steve Ramirez, got to put your hands on your face like Billy Jack. Oh, yeah. Doesn't he do the whole, Gene and the kids tell me to control my temper? Yeah, there you go. There you go, Steve. Bill, hello, Joe. I think Rams should trade for Adam Thielen of Carolina. There is that buzz out there. Now, that's a legitimate buzz. Rams looking for another receiver. My feeling is I think they might want to go after somebody because I don't want to. Here's my biggest doom and gloom. It's not the 0-2 start. My thing is, at what point does Cooper Kupp say 3 years in a row, can't stay healthy, I'm getting injured in all these other little plays? You know, what time is it for my body, which he is maxed out through work and effort? When does my body start telling me it's time to back off? He's in his 30s now. He's made a lot of money. He's married. I'm wondering if Kupp retires, the Rams are going to need another guy, right? Demarcus Robinson's on a 1-year contract. Tyler Johnson's on a 1-year contract. And yeah, we know Jordan Whittington's probably not going to be that guy, right, just yet. So, yeah, I could see the Rams making a move. I don't know if it's Adam Thielen, but I could see the Rams making a move. Bill, if the Rams are 0-4, do the Rams trade Stafford? I hope not. I think what we're going to see, we could very well be 0-3 going to Chicago. But again, people were jumping ship last year. And I could see this team charting and getting better as the season goes. The tough games are at home, and it's going to get better. The defense, believe it or not, even without Aaron Donald, is more rounded and is better this year. I think it is. More potential for aggressive play and stuff. And so I think this team is going to get better. And again, Rams have had their injuries. Everything kind of balances out in the NFL, and I think other teams are going to be suffering the same thing. Frisco has these things going on. They're going to go on all year for them as well. And I think Cardinals are going to come back to earth. And then the Seahawks, let's face it. Seahawks are going to get the Dolphins this week without Tua. They got the Patriots on the road, and they got the Broncos on the road at home. So right now, the Broncos, the Seahawks, I'm sorry, are riding a gravy train with biscuit wheels, right? It's pretty good for them right now. The stuff's going to get real when they have to play some tougher teams, and even in their own division. So I hate to say the Rams would call it if they're 0-4. I think losing in Chicago could be a bad thing. And again, it all comes down to an injury or something. But if the Rams decided to trade Stafford, the baseline is, for me, the Tyreek Hill deal. But I'd want more because I think Stafford right now is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I think I would move him for Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, maybe Justin Herbert, and maybe C.J. Stroud, right? Those are the guys I would say right now, yeah, you got to put them above Matthew Stafford. But, Stafford's the one with the Super Bowl ring outside of Mahomes. I wouldn't move Stafford. I don't think the Rams want to be in the wilderness quarterback-wise. There's no quarterback coming up in the draft that they're going to get their hands on. And who's going to deal with the Rams? The Rams won't have a high mid-level quarterback like Jared Goff to deal the next time. Are they going to go back and give up 3 number ones and take somebody who's going to give them a starting quarterback? That's it. Matthew Stafford's caliber. Remember, Sean McVay moved off Jared Goff, and he had lost confidence in Goff. That was apparent at the end of 2020. But look at Jared Goff now. Jared Goff is an NFL quarterback, high-end NFL quarterback. Maybe not great, but I don't think the Rams want to fool around and go through the wilderness and look for that home run at quarterback. So I'm hesitant about a trade. Bill, the Rams need a run-stuffing nose tackle. Preach, right there. I'm with you. Absolutely on that. Bobby Brown's got the ankle. Tyler Davis with a healthy scratch. Yeah, Rams need a beast in the middle. The Rams need a beast in the middle. I believe that more than they need a receiver, right? They need somebody that's just going to gobble up space, right? They need a bad dude in the middle. And I think I'm just about done hoping Bobby Brown would become that guy. USA expat, preach, Rambo. Rambro. Okay. I guess I got a little huffy there at the start. I was just listening to a podcast. I'm driving around and I put on the podcast and I'm hearing people talking about a rebuild on the offensive line. We just owned up. We just extended Dotson. We went out and took Jonah Jackson. We drafted Avalon. We were perfectly pleased with him, right? So the interior offensive line is set. Up to now, like I said, Havenstein's been a Gibraltar. We're going to find out about Alaric Jackson. What do you mean rebuild the offensive line? Draft another tackle? Okay, draft another tackle. But rebuild the offensive line? It was just so infuriating to listen to that because I just can't believe they just don't do better. Anyway, USA expat. In the old days, 10-year losing streak versus Niners, we would always say, if you can't beat them up, beat them up. I agree. That was my thing when I was playing, It was like, you let them know you were there. I used to tell that to my guys. If you're going to foul them hard. Don't foul to hurt them, but let them know that nothing's free, nothing's cheap, nothing's easy. What I'm really hoping is the Rams have heard all this stuff. Not from me, of course. I know Stan listens. But what I'm really hoping is that they've really developed this attitude that I'm done with this. No way. I'm really ticked off. And I hope they become even more infuriated when they see all those red jerseys at SoFi. I hope it's like, you know what? No, I'm not. You're not doing this here. We're not letting you do this. I'm just hoping they just have that circle the wagons attitude, and we're taking you out, right? This isn't Masada where we take ourselves out. This is Samson pushing on the pillars and taking everyone with me, right? And I just hope it's that way. I hope the game is so physical that if the Rams lose, that Frisco's so beat up that they struggle when they play next week. Yeah, that's me. There you go. Yeah, USA expect fairly. I agree, fairly. Let's see, Steve Ramirez. It's funny how UCLA has played a lot of regular season games at Michigan while USC hasn't since the 1950s. I know. It feels like I'm watching a Rose Bowl game, right, Steve? It does. It feels like I'm watching a Rose Bowl game, and I'm just curious to see how SC handles it. Miller Moss up to now has been nails, but the big house is the big house, right? I was asking the Mid-Valley guys who were at Allegiant Stadium for the LSU USC game, and I said, what was it? And he said, was it a USC crowd or more of an LSU crowd? And they said it was more of an LSU crowd. But we know at the big house in Ann Arbor, it's going to be all Michigan. And so we'll see. Let's see. JD Durham, hit that like. Hit that like. Yeah, guys, hit that like if you're here. USA expat. If Cooper retires, he moves to the Rams coaching staff. Yeah, I think that sounds great. I really hope he does. I don't want to get rid of Cooper Kupp. My thing with Cooper Kupp is that it's starting to pile up, and he's in his 30s. And you look at him, he's not built like Justin Jefferson. He's not built like Randy Moss. He's not built like Deebo Samuel. Not everyone breaks down and stuff. He looks like an ordinary dude, but he's gotten a lot out of that body. And after a while, it just takes a toll. There's only so much you could ask of it. I'm hoping not, but I'm getting a sense it's coming. Okay, getting ready to watch Nebraska, Illinois. No updates, guys, please. No updates. I'm getting ready to watch that one. I'm excited about that game. Boston College, I got them at number 9. I got Cal at number 8. They're going to Florida State. 7, Oregon. 6, Missouri. 5, Penn State. LSU gets UCLA in the Bayou. Texas hosting Louisiana Monroe. I think Arch Manning is starting that game. I believe I saw that. I'm pro Manning. I'm pro Miami. They're going to South Florida. I'm pro Cam Ward. And, of course, USC is my number 1 team at the Big House. Have not seen Ohio State play yet. Of course, I'm not going to see him this week because I'm not going to watch Ohio State play Marshall. All right, nominating committee came in for the seniors, the senior nominating committee for the Hall of Fame, and Roman Gabriel made the list. And I was looking at the offensive nominees. At quarterback, nominated was Ken Anderson, former Giant legend Charlie Connerly, Boomer Esiason, Roman Gabriel, James Shaq Harris, Bobby Hebert, Jeff Hostetler, Ron Jaworski, Jack Kemp, Dave Craig, Darryl LaMonica, Don Meredith, Jim Plunkett, Phil Simms, Joe Theismann, Doug Williams. A couple of thoughts about these guys. I actually think Jim Plunkett should have been in a long time ago. He's won 2 Super Bowls. He's got a great story. And on top of that, he won a Heisman. Yeah, we know that doesn't count for the NFL, but that's a story. And also, I'm surprised so far because it took almost 40 years for the NFL and writers to discover that Tom Flores was Hispanic. I would think they want to score some virtue points. And, I always keep my eyes on Plunkett. He should be in there, not for virtue points, but Plunkett should be in there. Guy that compiled those numbers, played in the Super Bowl, is Ken Anderson. I thought Ken Anderson, he was a top-notch quarterback for many years. I'm surprised as a Cowboy, Don Meredith didn't get in because it's like, oh my gosh, we got to put a Cowboy in. Also, kind of canceling each other out, but at some point, one of these black quarterback pioneers, I'm sure the NFL is going to want in the Hall of Fame. Doug Williams for winning the Super Bowl, which he was just amazing in, beating the Broncos, finding Ricky Sanders. And then, of course, James Harris, Shaq Harris, just because of what he accomplished as being one of the first guys and what he went through. And he was also an executive as well. But I keep my eyes on, and Roman Gabriel. I know this is going to sound heretical to Ram fans. I think Roman Gabriel is really Hall of very, very good. Like all these guys could be listed with the exception of Plunkett. But the Hall of the very, very good. I'm not going to complain, and maybe they'll discover that Roman Gabriel is a quarterback of Filipino descent, and they'll want to get that virtue point in their column and stuff. But I think of all of those guys in terms of just sheer numbers, Ken Anderson would be the guy. I like Joe Theismann, 2 Super Bowls. I like Joe Theismann. I just don't know. He's just much more a blue collar guy. He's much more of a Dave Craig. He's much more of a Jeff Hostetler, a Ron Jaworski. Boomer Esiason had a Super Bowl appearance. I'm just not feeling it. I think Hall of very, very good. But running backs, the names that popped up: Alan Amici, Otis Anderson, John Arnett, Larry Brown for the Redskins, Timmy Brown, Ernest Biner, Roger Craig, John David Crow, Clem Daniels, Raiders, Hewart Dixon, Raiders, Chuck Foreman, Willie Gallimore, Bears, Marv Hubbard, Raiders, Daryl Johnston, the Cowboys, Christian Okoye, Mark Van Egan, Herschel Walker, Whizzer White, Sammy Winder got on this list, and so did Paul Tank Younger, former Ram, and so he's a Ram there. You could look at Tank Younger and his career and think, there's something about him as a linebacker too that you can kind of go and look at. But on the whole, when I look at this list, I don't know how Roger Craig wasn't already already elected to the Hall of Fame. I thought Roger Craig had an amazing career. Not only did he get the Super Bowls, but this guy was the first one to rush for 1,000, catch for 1,000. A guy that was very good, that's pretty close, is Chuck Foreman. And one of my favorites was Otis Anderson. Otis Anderson is one of my favorites because he really went from this, feature back, speed back to just this bludgeoner for the Giants in that Super Bowl. And, that might be Hall of very good, but just something to think about. They got wide receivers and tight ends. Some names I'll just read off. Mark Bavaro, Gino Cappelletti, Raymond Chester, Todd Christensen, Mark Clayton, Gary Collins, Isaac Curtis, Carroll Dale, Boyd Dowler, Henry Eller, Jimmy Giles, Harold Jackson, Billy White Shoes Johnson, Brent Jones, Homer Jones, Stanley Morgan, Art Powell, Mike Quick, Sterling Sharp, Del Schaffner, Pat Studstill. Why Pat Studstill? I just don't get it. Lionel Taylor, Otis Taylor, Rick Upchurch, and such. I like Rick Upchurch. I really like Rick Upchurch. He's not Hall of Famer. You're looking at some of these other guys. One guy that I think, how do you gate him? Because what did he get, 5 years, 6 years? Sterling Sharp was off the charts. Sterling Sharp was really good. He's a guy that should get some consideration. I like Billy White Shoes Johnson's career because he went from just that punt returner guy to that receiver guy. Just didn't play on these great teams. Of course, Harold Jackson to me should already be in. Also, Otis Taylor. I think Otis Taylor should be in along with Harold Jackson. They already should be in. Henry Ellard. I really like Henry Ellard. I'm not going to have a problem if Henry Ellard goes. And I think he's more than just very, very good. The problem is just look at the gut of receivers. Just look at the receivers that I just mentioned, let alone the modern day receivers, how Torrey Holt's having a hard time getting in. And Henry Ellard's just behind everybody, And then at tight end, people like Bavaro. I really came to like Todd Christensen later on in life. I didn't like him as a player, but Todd Christensen's really interesting. If you ever watch America's Game and the one they do about the 83 Raiders and Todd Christensen, one of those guys, and he has this great line in there when he says, for me, the son of a college professor who probably shouldn't have any expectation to be in a Super Bowl, he gets really weepy. And he says, I thank my maker for the opportunity to be in this game. And there was a humbleness in Christensen later in life. Unfortunately, he's passed away. There was a humbleness in him later in life that wasn't there when he was younger, and I didn't like him. But later on, I grew to like him. The one guy that I think is overlooked at tight end, and Raymond Chester. Raymond Chester was a stud with the Raiders, Colts, Raiders. Then he even put some time in the USFL. I really liked Raymond Chester. And then offensive line, some of these names: Harris Barton, Ed Budd, Randy Cross, Ray Donaldson, Gail Gillingham, Jay Hilgenberg. Chris Hinton was really good. And Bob Kuchenberg and George Coons, who already should have been in, both those guys. I thought they were in already. Ralph Neely, Nate Newton, John Nyland. And it's like, let's talk about the Cowboys here. Lewis Sharp, Walt Sweeney. I think we had a Walt Sweeney 7-Eleven Slurpee cup when I was a kid. Jim Tyre, Ed White, and I thought Ed White was really good, and Al Lister. Joe Jacoby, he's a hog. I lean towards Joe Jacoby. Like I said, Kuchenberg and Kuhn should already be in. Joe Jacoby is someone that, I'm surprised they just didn't, because of the 49er poll, have Randy Cross in there already. But we'll see. Also, Chris Hinton had a really good career. All right, we've already talked about Rams injuries and everything. Let's talk about the game. Basically, it boils down to you've got the playmakers for the 49ers, Kittle, Samuel, McCaffrey, even Elijah Mitchell, injured at the beginning of the year. They're out. They got Jordan Mason. They got Juszczyk, and Ricky Pearsall's out. They got Juwan Jennings to go with Brandon Ayuk. Kobe Durant has been playing well. Big plays are killing Trey White. He can settle down. He's a veteran, getting back into the groove after missing much of the last 2 years. I'm anxious to see more out of Cam Curl. Quentin Lake is healthy. Cam Kitchen's going to get more opportunity with JJ out. And they still got Charles Woods and Josh Wallace on the active roster. And I haven't seen any news of Akilla Witherspoon being activated for the practice squad. So that's interesting. That shows they have a lot of faith in Woods and Josh Wallace. It'd be nice if Woods and Josh Wallace, thinking of the 49ers, turned into the Tim McKyer and Don Griffin there that they got in the later rounds of the draft in the mid-'80s. I digress. Offensive line, the 49ers got Trent Williams, Aaron Banks, Jake Brendel. Dominic Puny has come in for the injured Jose Feliciano, played well against the Jets, lousy against the Vikes. And then Colton McGivitz, who's playing a little bit better at right tackle. And this is really where the game is on. Game is on Kobe Turner, Bobby Brown, and Braden Fisk. It really is. These guys have to nut it up. They have to be disruptors. They have to get a push. And Roseman and Reeder, they're not Ernest Jones, right? They have to find a way to play better than they're capable. And the Rams have a shot if they do. But it really comes down to those front three. On defense, 49ers are running Bosa and Leonard Floyd at the edge. Floyd has not played well. He got a sack on Aaron Rodgers in the first game, but Floyd has not played well. Bosa went out for a little bit last week. He's nursing a rib. Javon Hargrave and Malik Collins are not playing well. Fred Warner is off the charts. Devondre Campbell is okay. And, of course, Dre Greenlaw is not back. So the Frisco front has struggled. And Alaric Jackson is fresh. And the guy coming off the edge, Bosa, has a tender rib. Maybe an advantage here. Logan Bruss is playing for his career, so I got to believe he's highly motivated. Limmer got a vote of confidence from Stafford. They just need to be middle of the road. That's what this offensive line needs to be, middle of the road. Maybe Blake Corum can add a little more thunder to the Rams running game. Not that they're exactly thunder and lightning, but he is a little stronger than Kyron Williams. Maybe a Blake Corum, few carries with him can soften that Frisco front a little bit, give the Rams an opportunity. The 49ers secondary, Javaris Ward, hamstring, and Diamador Lenore, they haven't gotten off to a great start. Taylor Noah Hafanga is expected to play. Jair Brown is struggling in coverage as the free safety. And so it's easy to dismiss this Rams receiving core, but I don't think the Frisco defensive backs are something to fear. They're good. They're capable. They're playing well or okay. Robinson and Tyler Johnson are not Kupp and Nakua, but they are capable. And there's a reason the Rams decided on Jordan Whittington and to keep Tutu Atwell around. If Stafford can stay upright, he finds them. If Stafford can stay upright, he finds them. And the Rams win 27-21. Bingo. I said it. There you go. All right, let's look at week 3 real quick. I had a bad couple weeks here, guys. I promise I'll get to the questions that popped in there. I'm happy the Jets won. I'm really happy the Jets won, but I foolishly took the Patriots. Okay, that's why I don't bet. Giants, Browns. Cleveland has to win this game. They really do. I should put Kevin Stefanski on this list. So they have to win this game. Bears, Colts. Indy needs this one. And there was an interesting thing they were talking about with Jonathan Taylor. Didn't play much in the fourth quarter for the Colts against the Packers last week. And you'd think Jonathan Taylor with a struggling Anthony Richardson would play a part in that. So you got to wonder what's going on there, And but Colts need this one at home. And what we really want to see is it doesn't hurt us who wins or loses so much, but what we want to see is we don't want the Bears offense to get on track. We don't want them to find that little spark. Hey, this is starting to work now. It's coming together. What we want is them to struggle. We want them disillusioned when the Rams go there and play the 10 o'clock window game next week. So Texans, Vikings, I think it could be a toss-up there, but I do like the Texans. I'm going with C.J. Stroud over Sam Darnold in this one. Eagles, Saints, taking Nola. Taking the Saints because I really want to see the Philly fans melt down after this one happens. And good luck to Nick Sirianni. The scariest thing I ever saw at a game that wasn't on the field, I was at a USC game when Cody Kessler was playing, and what's his name was the head coach. Guy at Ole Miss now. Oh my gosh, my mind is blanking. And Lane Kiffin. And they wanted his head. We're walking out after the game is over. I'm watching with Big Rich Whittington, work with us mid, and we're walking out through the parking lot, and you hear the alumni. I mean, these weren't gang guys. These weren't tough-looking guys. These were like established alumni in their late 30s, 40s. They look like businessmen. They wanted Lane's head big time in that game. After they lost to Utah at home, it was bad. And I just get the feeling Nick Sirianni, he might not want to go back to Philly if things go south in New Orleans. Chargers at Steelers. As of now, Herbert's playing. I do like the Chargers over the Bolts with Justin Herbert. If the Bolts take an early lead, Steelers cannot play catch up. They don't have the ability to play catch up. Broncos and Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield's playing well. Really happy for Baker Mayfield. And it's bad for Sean Payton if they lose. And I think they're going to. And I got to believe at some point, even though Payton's a very accomplished coach, when do they start winning? When does things look like they're turning around a little bit? And I would appreciate a little bit of a turnaround because I got Cortland Sutton on one of my fantasy teams. But I like the Buccaneers at home. Packers at Titans. Jordan Love is back at practice, but I'd like to see Malik Willis play. If I'm a Packer fan, I think I can win this game without Jordan Love, and I don't want to aggravate anything with him. I'm going to go with Malik Willis, let him get that revenge against Tennessee, even though he's a pretty classy dude. When we were trying to get something out of him about Tennessee, Malik Willis, he says, hey, I never missed a paycheck here. These people treated me well. I thank them for everything they did. Malik Willis, classy kid. Of course, everyone knew that at the draft. It's just, can he play? And he played well enough last week. Josh Jacobs is questionable. I need Josh Jacobs to have a good game because he's on my fantasy team. Panthers at Raiders. I don't know if you get much of an autumn wind in Vegas, and like I said last week on Wednesday, this is the kind of game the Raiders blow after winning a big game. They usually tank in the next, but I think the Panthers are bad. I think the Panthers are just bad, and I'm going with the Raiders. Dolphins at Seahawks. Seattle goes to 3-0. Lions at Cardinals. I'm going with Detroit. I am not a believer in the Cardinals yet, so I'm going with Detroit. Ravens at Cowboys. Like I said, whoever loses is going to make a great story because what's wrong with Lamar? What's wrong with Dallas? I think the Ravens are the better team. We all saw holes in Dallas's game. We did. We saw the holes in their game. They're paying the wrong people at the wrong amounts, and they're making poor choices. And I'm going Ravens and Dallas. Rams over the 49ers, I believe. Make the big, tall wish, Bowley. And Chiefs at the Falcons. Suddenly this game looks interesting, but I'm going Kansas City. One of the things that happened to me in the 80s where you just knew the 49ers were the better team because Joe Montana at that time was just off the charts. There were times, not necessarily against the Rams all the time, but whenever I saw the 49ers play, at a certain point, they just became a pleasure to watch, right? You knew you were seeing something great with the 49ers. You just knew Montana was just amazing to watch. And that's where the Chiefs are right now, right? I can't hate the Chiefs. I can't. And they're just something you should enjoy, right? Because everything is so fleeting in the NFL. You should really just enjoy watching the Chiefs because I do. I really enjoy watching the Chiefs quite a bit. I'm taking them over the Falcons. Jaguars at Bills. Jags really need this. Bills with an opportunity to make a statement in the AFC. Texans, Bengals. I'm going Bengals. Hopefully, Jaden Daniels scrambles for 15,000 yards and helps my fantasy team. So those are my picks for this week, and we'll go from there. Okay, looking at Rams history, Bernie Casey on this day passed away in 2017 at the age of 78. Best known as UN Jefferson. He played 8 years in the NFL. 9th overall pick out of Bowling Green by the 49ers. I played halfback, flanker, and tight end. Spent 2 years with the Rams. Started both years. Made Pro Bowl in 67. Caught 53 passes and 8 touchdowns. 359 catches in his career. 15-yard average, 40 TDs. For the time of the NFL that he played in, he's off the charts. He had a really good career. Tomorrow, September 21st, Demarcus Robinson turns 30 years old. He was originally a 4th-round pick, 126 out of Florida by the Chiefs. September 22nd, that's Sunday. I read off some things there. This coming Sunday, September 22nd, Rams signed Elijah Pitts to their taxi squad in 1970. In 1987, the players went out on strike. It lasted 24 days. Replacement players came in, led to free agency. On September 22nd, 1993, James Lofton signed with the Rams. He was released about a month later, appeared in one game for the Rams, caught one pass for 16 yards. 2009, on September 22nd, Rams signed Danny Amendola from the Eagles practice squad. He caught 196 of his 617 passes in the NFL for the Rams over 4 seasons. Played 13 seasons total, appeared in 3 Super Bowls in New England, winning 2. What a great career Danny Amendola had. And then there's still video out there of the Hard Knocks episode where Jerry Jones is waving Danny Amendola. Just hilarious. Amendola is another one of those guys. He's not Cooper Kupp, but he's another one of those guys that maxed his body, maxed it as much as he could, and he had a great career. On September 22nd, 2021, the Rams said goodbye to Micah Kiser. He was signed off the practice squad by the Denver Broncos. There we go. Games, September 22nd, 1967, Rams beat the Vikings 39-3 on a Friday night. Jack Pardee had a 40-yard pick 6. Eddie Meter had 2 picks. Maxie Bond had 1. 1968, I say this for Steeler fan Rob, September 22nd, 1968, Rams beat the Steelers 45-10. Dick Bass scored 3 touchdowns. Gabriel tossed 4. Bernie Casey caught 2. Maxie Bond and Irv Cross had picks. 1974, September 22nd, Rams beat the Saints 24-0. Hadel touchdown pass to Snow. Jackson McCutcheon rushes for 102 yards. Tony Baker rushes for a touchdown. Elmendorf and Geddes get interceptions, and the Rams record 5 sacks. Speaking of that, McCutcheon scored in that game. McCutcheon should be on that. If Chuck Foreman's on there, McCutcheon should be on that senior committee list. And there we go. All right. I think we got it. I think we got everything in. Let's see if we got some questions here piled up. USC expat. Thrilled me how Gabriel would physically fend off defenders with one arm while passing with another. You know, USA expat, again, I share that with Steve Ramirez. I share that with Steve Ramirez. He grew up, he saw Gabriel play in his prime. I saw Gabriel play in 72, and that wasn't anything special, right? And 72 was a bad year. And so I rooted for him in Philly. He had that really good year in 73 and not a bad year in 75. But I didn't get – I know Gabriel was a legend, right? But I didn't get that Gabriel stuff in the 60s. I just knew he was a Ram. He was in the Undefeated movie with John Wayne and stuff. But I read his book. That's how I got to know Gabriel and everything. But Player of the Year, I think it was called, and stuff. But if he gets in, I'm not going to complain. But I just look at his numbers, and I didn't see him play live, so I don't have that feeling of how how he does getting into the Hall of Fame. There we go. USA expat. White Shoes Johnson goes in just on his dances. Again, he had the dance, right? Top of the line punt returner, right? Maybe not Devin Hester, but he was there, right? And then you got he became a very accomplished receiver with the Falcons in the early 80s. He went to Canada for a year and then came back. He wasn't really utilized. I'm thinking in Houston, you got Ken Burrow, you had Mike Renfro. I'm trying to think of who the tight ends were. Mike Barber maybe, but that Mike Barber might have came after him. He really wasn't used in Houston as that weapon receiving. He goes to Canada, he comes back, and he goes to Atlanta, and he has some big moments in Atlanta. He has some big moments there, and I wouldn't be bothered if Billy White Shoes Johnson got in, unless he got in ahead of Harold Jackson. Harold Jackson needs to get in. That's just how I feel. Harold Jackson needs to get in. Let's see. USA expat. Expect Niners to pound the rock. Yeah. Hey, Jordan Mason. That guy's, yeah. They scored with him. And again, he's, I think what the Rams do with him, right? If you could get him to average 3 yards a carry instead of 5 yards a carry, you got a shot. He's a good running back. I think to loosen things up, they're going to pound him for Brock Purdy. And I don't appreciate people. Well, I'm sorry. Appreciate like I'm upset. I don't think it's wise to discount Brock Purdy. I watched the replay of last year's Super Bowl. The Chiefs were ahead. Brock Purdy puts them ahead 13-10. Chiefs tie, puts them ahead 16-13. Chiefs tie 16-16. Puts the 49ers ahead 19-16. Chiefs tie. Puts the Niners ahead in overtime 22-19. And then Kyle Shanahan gets out-coached down the stretch. And I've said this before, but Brock Purdy did everything he could to win that game last year. for the 49ers. It's not Brock Purdy's fault. Brock Purdy's played really, really well. He's a dangerous quarterback. You got to respect him. Michael Negretti, Pastor, who wins the Injury Bowl? If we're talking about us and the 49ers, they've got top of the line players. If Kittle is out, we know McCaffrey and Debo is out. Those are three guys that are Pro Bowl caliber, right? That have been routinely there. Nakua's in his second year. Kupp has been injury prone, unfortunately, to say the last 3 years. So I think the Rams win. I got the Rams 27-21. Steve Ramirez has the Rams 24-21. You're feeling it too, Steve? Are you feeling it? Are you feeling it like a Ram fan, or are you just feeling it out of spite? USA Expat, tell Havenstein which Bosa rib to focus on. Now, I think he's going to line up on the Alaric Jackson side. I think Havenstein will get Leonard Floyd, and that's not a bad thing because Havenstein, for 4 years, lined up next to Leonard Floyd and lined up against Leonard Floyd in practice. And so there is some opportunity there out of familiarity. Steve Ramirez, Bernie Casey was also in Brian's song. Wasn't everybody in Brian's song? The only thing I'm talking about Bernie Casey is he wasn't in The Longest Yard, right? Bernie Casey was also in Gargoyles. Did anyone see Gargoyles? That was kind of a creepy television movie when we were kids. I like Night Stalker with Darren McGavin better, but Gargoyles, very cheesy, but kind of scary when you're a kid. Bernie Casey was the head gargoyle in that. Steve Ramirez, September 19th, 1976. Rams come back to tie Vikings 10-10. Rick Kay with the interception near the end zone in overtime to seal the tie. That was a big one, too, because the Rams were in Atlanta, I think, the week before. Is that where that was? Were the Rams in Atlanta the week before and won that one? Yeah, I remember that one. Capoletti was there. And that was the game. Rams drove length of the field and went for it on fourth down and didn't get it, right? And then in the NFC title game, drove the length of the field to open the game. And you got to wonder if that was still playing in Knox's head when the officials biffed it on Ron Jesse being in the end zone. That's when, instead of going for it on fourth down, Knox became Chuck Knox again and decided to kick the field goal and stuff. I just saw that game on TV, on YouTube a few months ago. Michael Negretti, Josh Carty is hurt too. He pulled his Wavo or groin. And that's why Tanner Brown is here. And so we're going to find out. I imagine, what do you do with the kickers? Should you, with Tanner Brown, shouldn't you activate him just in case Joshua Carty aggravates something during the course of the game and you got Tanner Brown? If we're thinking this might be a close game, you might need a legitimate kicker. Just throwing it out there. Biozio, football gods have Rams winning, have a little 2-game win streak against the 49ers, albeit starters injured or resting from last season. No, hey, it's the name of the game. It is what it is, right? You're going to lose. People are going to get hurt. You're going to lose games. I get all that, and stuff. And I think in some cases, it doesn't help. But if the Rams lose a tight game against Frisco, we can look to our injured reserve list to go, we'll get them next time. What I didn't like last week was, I don't know if our injured reserve list cost us that game as much as just poor play. You could say Warren McClendon got schooled at left tackle, but everything else just wasn't good and stuff. And so I think the Rams have a shot here. I think the Rams have a legitimate shot to beat Frisco, and then to go to Chicago the next week, and then they're 2-2, and then all this talk about rebuild, trading Stafford, season being over. Do you really think we're going to find out about Arizona on Sunday against Detroit? And they've already got one loss, Arizona does. And I think Seattle's going to go to 3-0. But do you think Seattle's going to carry on? I think Frisco's going to have their struggles, but in tough games in the division, they're going to win some games. And I think, I've had to modify. I think the Rams can win 10 games. I think they can win 10 games. And if they win 10 games in the NFC West this year, that might be more than enough to get them into the playoffs. So that's what I'm thinking. Michael Negretti, if the Rams go 0-6, do the Rams trade Stafford? It depends on what kind of 0-6 it is. Is the 0-6, does he get hurt? Is the 0-6, what is the, 0-6 looks different sometimes. Again, if you want to trade them, they better give me something top of the line. My thing is, if they're 0-6, 0-8, I don't think it's going to happen. But if they get to 0-6, 0-8, 0-9, then you know what? I shut him down and I start negotiating for next year because he's only got $4 million guaranteed next year, and such, because he keeps you in the Super Bowl window. And I think the Rams are a good team. I think the Rams just hit a buzzsaw to start this season. I mean, they were this close from beating Detroit. Kobe Durant holds on to the pick. So many different things could happen. They should be They could literally be 1-1 right now. They could be. They could be 1-1 right now. So I'm just not thinking it's over. I just don't think it's over the way people want to say that it's over. But if the Rams ever do trade Stafford, I want the whole enchilada, right? I want a couple of number ones. I want a number two. I want a couple of number threes. I want some sweeteners. I want David frickin' Putney because I feel like it, right? Those are the guys I want. That's what I want them to do. I don't want them to just give them away. What I don't want is, hey, you're a good guy, we're going to take care of you trade. I don't want a trade like Robert Woods to the Titans. Hey, where do you want to go, Robert? Well, they're only going to give us a seventh, so we'll give them to you for a seventh or a sixth. I don't want a good guy trade, right? I want to fleece the dude or the team that comes after Matthew Stafford, right? I think that one works. All right. I think we got through this, guys. I really appreciate you joining me on a Friday night. Thanks a lot. Be sure to hit like. Manuel, Rams will leave it on the field against the 49ers. I hope so. I just want to see an angry team. If you go back, go on YouTube, see Rams-Cowboys playoffs around Christmas time, 76. It's the game the Rams won 14-12. And my brother and I used to talk about it all the time. You would see when the Rams defense was introduced, and Bill Simpson had his beard and Fred Dreyer had his beard. The Rams just came out with just such a nasty look on their face, because in 75, the Cowboys killed them at home 37-7. A year later, less than a year later, because that game was played in January of 76, but less than a year later, 11 months later, the Rams are in Dallas, first round of the playoffs, with Pat Hayden at quarterback, and the Rams win 14-12. That's the Rusty Jackson spiking the ball after taking the safety play. And the Rams just came out with so much attitude in that game. And, I'm 11 or 12 watching that game with my brother, and it's like the Rams just came out. There was something about that Ram team that game. The defense wasn't going to give them an inch, and they didn't. They were blocking punts, and you had Pat Hayden at quarterback, but the defense didn't give the Cowboys an inch, and the Rams won that game. So I hope they leave it all on the field. I hope they come out with some attitude, some bad intentions, and they win this game. All right, guys, God bless. Take care. Have a great weekend, and we will be back. Thanks for hanging with me. Please, if you can, support Game Day in the Ram Cave. Our sponsor, Kistler Law, who they help us out quite a bit. And, of course, Bench the app. Check those things out. Appreciate your support. God bless. Take care. And we will see you on Monday.